So different, Ballard and Beyond. I know. I lived in Beyond. That's how I know, you know. I don't think I was living in Beyond when you lived in Ballard. I was living in the Alder basement. Alder basement, yeah. That was my first residence at Whitworth. All right, what enough of this falderall and this fiddly-dee? You know, because, you know what, you know why? Because it's Tuesday, the day that time forgot, and we're in the poetry break. This is the part of life where we just get to, you know, sit back and spread the words. Yes, spreading the words tonight. That's what we're here to do. So I wanted to start with something a little different. I wanted to put this back up without all the billboard parts, and use this as my introduction. I'm just going to give you a taste of Uncle Walt. When lilacs last in the dooryard bloomed, and the great star early drooped in the western sky in the night, I mourned, and yet shall mourn with ever-returning spring. Ever-returning spring, Trinity sure to me you bring, lilac blooming perennial and drooping star in the west, and thought of him I love. O powerful western fallen star, O shade of night, O moody, tearful night, O great star disappeared, O the black murk that hides the star, O cruel hands that hold me powerless, O helpless soul of me, O harsh surrounding cloud that will not free my soul. In the dooryard, fronting an old farmhouse near the whitewashed palings, stands the lilac bush, tall growing with heart-shaped leaves of rich green, with many a pointed blossom rising delicate, with the perfume strong I love, with every leaf a miracle, and from this bush in the dooryard, with delicate-colored blossoms and heart-shaped leaves of rich green, I sprig with its flower, I break. In the swamp and secluded recesses, a shy and hidden bird is warbling a song. Solitary the thrush, the hermit withdrawn to himself, avoiding the settlements, sings by himself a song. Song of the bleeding throat, death's outlet song of life, for well, dear brother, I know if thou wast not granted to sing, thou wouldst surely die. Over the breast of the spring, the land, amid cities, amid lanes and through old woods, where lately the violets peeped from the ground, spotting the gray debris, amid the grass and the fields, each side of the lanes, passing the endless grass, passing the yellow speared wheat, every grain from its shroud in the dark brown fields uprisen, passing the apple tree blows of white and pink in the orchards, carrying a corpse to where it shall rest in the grave. Night and day journeys a coffin. Coffin that passes through lanes and streets, through day and night with the great cloud darkening the land, with the pomp of the in-looped flags and the cities draped in black, with the show of the states themselves, as of crape-veiled women standing, with processions long and winding and flambeaux of the night, with the countless torches lit, with the silent sea of faces and the unbared heads, with the waiting depot, the arriving coffin, the somber faces, with dirges through the night, with the thousand voices rising strong and solemn, with all the mournful voices of the dirges poured around the coffin, the dim-lit churches and the shuddering organs, where amid these you journey with the tolling bells' perpetual clang. Here, coffin that slowly passes, I give you my sprig of lilac. Thought a little taste of Uncle Walt to kind of kick things off tonight. I don't know why. It just struck me as being possibly something that might resonate with someone out there in the night. It's not night. Let's check the glare here just momentarily. Oh, yeah. Not quite night yet. Not quite night yet here in the palatial Vitamin Audio studios, where you can see that clutter is really the name of the game. The mailbag is open, ladies and gentlemen. We have, meant to put that back up. Yeah. We have the mailbag here. Yeah. It's down there in the corner. Down there. In the corner. poetrybreak22@gmail.com. That's the place where you can send the favorite poem that you remember from your childhood that your mom or dad used to read to you, or something that you remember from school, or something that you read last week, something that you wrote last week. Let it come. I never thought that Holly Tuttle was going to be the person that brought Charles Bukowski into the poetry break. I've got some Charles Bukowski right up here behind the J.P. Batch's lunchbox. And one of the things that I love about Bukowski is that he softened up in his later years in this really kind of nice way. Yeah. So, cup of the week from Val Sanford down in Portland. Val, if you're in the house, I'm not looking at names right now, but I hope you're here. I see Pauline Jones. I see Theo. Hey, Theo. Janine Boggs. Family. Anyway, Holly Tuttle. I hope Holly's here. You here, Holly? Is Holly here? Anybody? Throw up a hand. Anybody? Oh, no. I don't like reading things when the person's not here. Well, what are you going to do? This is a poem by Charles Bukowski called Bluebird. There's a bluebird. I thought it was appropriate after the Whitman, and I'm not sure why. See if you can figure it out. Bluebird. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke, and the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? Do you want to screw up the works? Do you want to blow my book sales in Europe? There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes when everybody's asleep. I say, I know you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back, but he's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that with our, oh boy, I was afraid this is always going to happen, with our, okay. Shush. I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that with our secret pact, and it's nice enough to make a man weep, but I don't weep. Do you? I'm going to read that again, sorry. Let's get the pages unstuck before we begin, Bill. I thought you were a professional. Bluebird by Charles Bukowski, courtesy of Holly Tuttle, one of the lead wranglers at the Lame Cat Ranch. Bluebird. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke, and the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? Do you want to screw up the works? You want to blow my book sales in Europe? There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes when everybody's asleep. I say, I know you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back, but he's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that with our secret pact. And it's nice enough to make a man weep, but I don't weep. Do you? Charles Bukowski. Thank you, Holly. I wish I would have done him justice. It's been a long time since I read Bukowski. Bukowski, very popular in my 20s and 30s, as you can imagine. But then I discovered the later Bukowski, and I weeded out my Bukowski collection, but I kept this one of the posthumous books. And I can't remember what it's called. Let me see if I can see it. It's called, something like the people turn into flowers at last, or something like that. Which does not sound anything like burning in water, drowning in flame, or love as a dog from hell, or play the piano drunk like a percussion instrument until the fingers begin to bleed a bit. You know. Anyway. Little taste of Bukowski. Not too much. Theo from the Couth Buzzard is in the house. Sent me some poems by a local poet. He said, "Hi, Bill. Here are 4 poems and a bio from a friend, Kevin. Her bio explains who she was/is. I like to read poems and stories from outside the box folks, people who give me insights into worlds beyond my own, and also to expose local writers. Take care, Theo." Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. And I'll tell you, I was quite taken with Kevin Castle's work. So I want to read 3 of her poems tonight. I want to read the bio first. I have lived in Seattle my whole life, the daughter of a longshoreman and an actress. In 1980, I graduated from the UW with a history degree and few prospects for a lucrative career. Then I learned that they were hiring women to work on the Seattle docks that summer. I decided to apply. I was hired and became one of the first women ever to be admitted into the longshore industry. The resistance of the men was fierce, but I successfully navigated the headwinds to become, in 2000, the first woman to drive a cargo crane in Seattle. I retired in 2005. Writing was one of the ways I coped with being a woman in a mostly male workplace. My preferred pronouns are she, her. So I'm going to read 3 of these. I just love these. Thank you. And I'm hoping that Kevin is is with us tonight. I sent her an invite. I friended her on Facebook and sent her an invite to tonight. I hope she sees this either now or later. Thank you, Theo. There's 2 poems called Crane Operator with different little subtitles or colonized subtitles. The first one is called Crane Operator, The Climb. First, is Lori Trout in the house? Lori? Is Lori out there somewhere? I don't see her in my little bolded names, but it's time for the Lori Trout not memorial, what is it? The honorarium, the Lori Trout honorarium, the shot glass, my only shot glass at this time. If I had more shot glasses, there would be more shots. Might change the complexion of the evening slightly, but anyway, little Jack tonight. I thought it might, smooth out the reading ever so. Thank you, Val Sanford, for the mystery beverage chaser. Okay. Kevin Castle is her name. The first poem is called Crane Operator, The Climb. And you know what she talked about, these cargo cranes, those big U-shaped things that roll around the docks over there, the humongous ones? Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Crane Operator, The Climb. Each stair she climbs is a lattice work of steel with a view to the dock and water below. As she pulls herself up the ladders and steps, the sounds of semis and strads charging to life are farther and farther away. The grumble of gears changing, the smell of diesel fumes, and the blue clouds that spew forth don't reach her. More and more distant is the lunchroom where men slap their work slips on the tables for the bosses and tilt their styrofoam cups full of bitter coffee. She can't hear their laughs, their hollers, their lewd asides, or the thud of steel toes against the floors that lead out the door. She can't see the hoodies pulled tight over heads bowed to the wind, the hands shoved into greasy gloves, the devastating orange of safety vests. Here, now, at the top of this crane where she pulls the air into her lungs, she is alone, the growling machines and the men who drive them, scattered toys beneath her. Oh, we're already in. We're already in, Kevin. Second one is called Crane Operator, The Drive. Excuse me. A little comeback Jack there. Crane Operator, The Drive. She enters her cab and smells last night's driver, the Old Spice, the sweat. Cigarette ashes swirl inside the glass gondola as she pushes the steel door closed, folds herself into the hard cup of her seat and prepares to boot up the machine that crouches at the edge of the bay. Beneath her forearms, polished steel panels studded with buttons. Blinking domes and switches await her fingers. A large lever rises from either side, topped by the knobs she'll clutch until day's end. She bends forward, feet planted on the glass floor, torso resting against her thighs, knees wide, straining over them as if to polish her toenails. The seat belt slices her in half, a thread between her, the glass envelope of her workplace, and the black top 15 stories below. She lets out the cable, drops her rack, and aims for the 40-foot box that appears in miniature beneath her. She guesses the edges, corners, and pockets below her cab as she lets down fast to cap the container with her 40-foot rack and lock onto 40 tons of cargo. It used to be like groping for light. Now she can feel where it is. Hoisting the load up, she leans one lever toward the ship. The cab surges forward on its horizontal boom. It crosses the dock apron, clears the ship's rail, and hovers as she aims before sliding the can into a cell below deck. She pulls her rack out, drags the lever back, and drops to the dock. This is the arc she travels as she races from ship to shore, loading and discharging containers 30 times each hour. Her slams resound above the din of the semis and strads, with each push into the tight cells that swallow the boxes. Steel eating steel. She forgets to breathe, prays instead, squeezing inside the dark holes, pumping, fingers cramped, knees burning, suppressing the desire to view the mountains because it's up to her when the ship sails, when everyone goes home. And then this one, which is a little bit of a departure from the other two, but gives us a sense of the range of Kevin Castle. It's called Rare. She walks across the parking lot, past rows of men, soiled coveralls peeling into trunks, her semi-tractor parked inside the pier gate. She moves like licorice. Her jeans are tight, her jacket is flung over her shoulder, hooked on a single finger. She runs a hand through her hair, twisting it into a knot above her head and letting it fall to her shoulders. She saunters to her car, hips like whiskey in a tumbler, eyes smudged charcoal aimed above the yellow hard hats. She knows about the eyes all over her, hot as stage lights. What makes her so cocky in this all-man's world? To saunter, not scurry, like the wives do. Despite the catcalls that shout in her dreams, the engines that grate, fumes that foul her hair, nails that crack and tear. What makes her come back day after day? Is it the heat of being rare, or being the only one held in their eyes? Shall I read that again? I think I shall. Here in Ochoa. Charlotte Hubbard. Hey, Charlotte. Cool. Hope the whole family's here. Rare. She walks across the parking lot, past rows of men, soiled coveralls peeling into trunks, her semi-tractor parked inside the pier gate. She moves like licorice. Her jeans are tight. Her jacket is flung over her shoulder, hooked on a single finger. She runs a hand through her hair, twisting it into a knot above her head, then letting it fall to her shoulders. She saunters to her car, hips like whiskey in a tumbler, eyes smudged charcoal aimed above the yellow hard hats. She knows about the eyes all over her, hot as stage lights. What makes her so cocky in this all-man's world? To saunter, not scurry, like their wives do. Despite the catcalls that shout in her dreams, the engines that grate, fumes that foul her hair, nails that crack and tear. What makes her come back day after day? Is it the heat of being rare, of being the only one held in their eyes? Whew. Thank you, Kevin Castle. That's some wonderful stuff, and thanks to Theo for sending that in. And Rodentia, we have... It's the hand, ladies and gentlemen, the hand! The hand is here, the hand. Hello, hand. You spoke French. Thank you, hand. Hi, Bill, it's Henry. Henry, our prodigious young friend. Our honorary grandson is Henry. Yeah. Holly is on the road, but Kim says she will listen later. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for that update. I appreciate it. Janine Boggs and Julie Powell, my two cousins, are in the house tonight. All right. Get some Lander Homes in here. We'll have a complete set. Bill Woolham, Bridget Lacey. Hi, Bridget. Cindy Snyder, Holly, Kim Nelson, Theo, Chrissy Chesmore, Mark Kenny, Rick Lewis, Rochelle Hamill, Charlotte, Stephen, and Henry. Pauline Jones, Aaron Ochoa. Wow. It's nice to see Charlotte and Stephen and Henry and everybody else, Pauline and Aaron. Oh, that's cool. Okay. All right. So, speaking of the hand sent in a poem this week. The hand did that. She's got special entree. I don't know if you know that or not. She's, when the hand sends something in, it's going on the show more often than not. This week, was only too glad to include this. This is a Mary Oliver. Here's what she said. She said, wait a minute, I sense the return of the hand. As if, she's sneaking out. It's not very nice. She needs to stop by. Let me take another sniff of her. Carl Word is in the house. And Gary Schulstad. All right. Okay. That's great. Welcome, you guys. Oh, man. Having a good time. Where was I? Oh, yes. The hand. Wrote this. My sweet William. That's what she calls me. She calls me her sweet William. My sweet William, I read a Mary Oliver poem this morning that I've never absorbed until now. I would love to hear you read it at the poetry break. Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poets because she maintains a state of bliss even while measuring the light and the dark. Couldn't agree more. And this poem is from her book, Blue Horses. Blue Horses. Yeah. And it's called The Fourth Sign of the Zodiac. Mary Oliver. It's in 4 parts. The fourth sign of the zodiac. 1. Why should I have been surprised? Hunters walk the forest without a sound. The hunter strapped to his rifle, the fox on his feet of silk, the serpent on his empire of muscles, all move in a stillness, hungry, careful, intent. Just as the cancer entered the forest of my body without a sound. 2. The question is, what will it be like after the last day? Will I float into the sky, or will I fray within the earth or a river, remembering nothing? How desperate I would be if I couldn't remember the sun rising, if I couldn't remember trees, rivers, if I couldn't even remember, beloved, your beloved name. 3. I know you never intended to be in this world, but you're in it all the same. So why not get started immediately? I mean, belonging to it. There is so much to admire, to weep over, and to write music or poems about. Bless the feet that take you to and fro. Bless the eyes and the listening ears. Bless the tongue, the marvel of taste. Bless touching. You could live 100 years. It's happened. Or not. I am speaking from the fortunate platform of many years, none of which, I think, I ever wasted. Do you need a prod? Do you need a little darkness to get you going? Let me be urgent as a knife, then, and remind you of Keats, so single of purpose, and thinking, for a while, he had a lifetime. 4. Late yesterday afternoon, in the heat, all the fragile blue flowers in bloom in the shrubs in the yard next door had tumbled from the shrubs and lay, wrinkled and fading, in the grass. But this morning the shrubs were full of the blue flowers again. There wasn't a single one on the grass. How, I wondered, did they roll back up to the branches that fiercely wanting, as we all do, just a little more of life? Oliver. The Fourth Sign of the Zodiac, it's called. The nice thing about these poems is that you can pretty much look them up online. You type in Google, Mary Oliver, The Fourth Sign of the Zodiac, and you'll find the poem online, in case you don't want to buy all the books. Like I did. But it's been, I've been doing this for, since January 1978. So, there you go. There's the mailbag, folks. Now we're going to dip into Oldmanhood a little bit. What are we doing? It's already 7:25. Well, we're going to run a little over tonight because I got more past Oldmanhood. I'm sorry. But do a little Oldmanhood and do the new stuff from Oldmanhood. I've got a selection of the new stuff. Trust me, I only pick out the choicest, meatiest nuggets with the rich, savory broth. You just add water and you get the rich, savory broth. It's like Gravy Train. That's what it's like. Yeah. Please remember, this is a poet's notebook. This is not, I do not present these in any way as anything that is finished. These are things I typed this week, right there, sat down, started, and then at the bottom of the page I put the date and put in another roll in another piece of paper for another day. I try to do one a day. Sometimes I do two. Sometimes I miss a day. How old must one act in Oldmanhood to be accepted by the locals? Are we encouraged to hasten those steps in order to fit in? Do some of us surrender too much too early? Do we stagger back and forth across some imagined line of too much or too little, nearly falling sometimes, cursing at the mischievous earth with her mounds and divots? Some of the time I am too old to manage the Oldmanhood social scene, and sometimes I dance circles around them in my youthful exuberance. Is anyone else writing this down? Shouldn't we call a meeting? Is it the unnamed culture of Oldmanhood to encourage decay? Or are we all just naturally moving that way, out of the body's need to settle? How much information is contained in all these questions? I'd say quite a lot. The body starts to thirst for rest. The mind and the heart cannot escape the body, so they are dragged along as hostages. You can do a lot of damage trying to be young when you're old. But is there another side of it too? One must find balance while losing it at the same time. Here's a nice big hit of that. A hit that causes you to miss the earth from which you came. A collection of cells bound for out of town, bound to the broad road of gathering your life before passing into the big letting go. Thin clouds, bright with the sun's backing, crows playing on the wind, filaments of dust on old film, black and white. A rustle that tells you the rabbit has taken shelter in the blackberry bushes. It is the dog-walking hour. When the sun breaks through, it will shatter, the weather's quiet, the winds pining, the leaves' plaintive wave, the behavior of bullheads in the lake. Why must we die in such a perfect storm? Couldn't we sit behind glass and see a hospital window, if necessary, broken, but focused on the surging rain pushed across the glass by a westerly wind? We settle into sadness as friends pass. Empty our pockets and refill our glass. Embrace the temporary, the fallen fruit. Keep up with our children and try to be clever. Straddle the fence between now and never. Where was I born? A common row house near the railroad tracks with a small sooty garden out back. A wide wooden stoop, a nest of starlings, view of the Catholic steeple 3 blocks over, a pussy willow tree outside my window, the neighbor girl sunning on her stomach with her suit top undone in the back, an untethered fool in training with his binoculars. Years later, at a high school reunion, I found out they knew. I found out they laughed. I remember being disappointed by how normal I was. Just your average 11-year-old on his first hormone high. Oh well, the embarrassments of youth are a century ago here in Oldmanhood. That's a true story. Not about where I grew up, but about the neighbor. Yeah. Like little meteors, raindrops fall from maple leaves outside the window. A man dressed in white is pushing a shopping cart across the parking lot. No one is talking anymore. They are clenched in 21st century fear. Fear is less refreshing than rain. Fear won't let you pee or poop. It'll be quite a mess when everyone explodes. The good earth will be left to clean up. And I love it so, how morning becomes afternoon, the whole thing bent over, the whole time bent over keys or over a page, and the flow of seconds takes hours. This is the jackpot. Everything comes up shining, a jewel in the mind and heart, faceted, uncut, gleaming from the center with noble fire. It's time well spent. It's where the years went. Here in Oldmanhood, the sense of contentment gushes like a fountain over hot rocks. Each line a measure of depth, and some practiced courage carried across nerves to the hands like a call from home. Everyone's fine. They just called to hear your voice come over the air as a beam of light. There you go. There you go. The project continues apace. What can I say? Except it's what I'm doing. Why the heck not? Okay, one more installment tonight because I owe this, and I think it fits in. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was, Rochelle Hamill asked about Raymond Carver. Yeah, Raymond Carver. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Now, Rochelle, you have to understand, when I delve in, see, I've had this book on my shelf for 15 years. Let's see if I put a date in the front. No. Oh, yeah. 2011 is when I bought this book. July of 2011. Okay. And I've never done a deep dive. This is his collected poems. It's called All of Us. So when I'm reading someone's collected poems, I always start at the end because I want to read the poems they wrote when they were old. I figure if I get hooked into those, I'll like anything. You know what I'm saying? And if earlier in life, I might have opened it in the middle somewhere if I felt, let's read his middle-aged stuff. You know, because, that's just the way I like to do things. Is it smart? I don't know. So I'm starting with the later stuff. And Raymond Carver did not live to a ripe old age. He died, I believe, of lung cancer. He was married to the poet Tess Gallagher. They lived in Port Townsend for his last years. And I'm going to start with a poem called What the Doctor Said. Here's what I've been thinking about. I think when you get to a certain age, and, by you, I mean me, when you get to a certain age, you start being friendlier with death. You start to think of it not as, such a bad thing after all. It's the space between here and there that you're concerned about more, I think. Or I am, anyway. So, it's interesting. So these are some reckoning poems. What the Doctor Said. He said it doesn't look good. He said it looks bad, really bad. He said I counted 32 of them in one lung before I quit counting them. I said I'm glad. I wouldn't want to know about any more being there than that. He said, are you a religious man? Do you kneel down in forest groves and let yourself ask for help? When you come to a waterfall, mist blowing against your face and arms, do you stop and ask for understanding at those moments? I said, not yet, but I intend to start today. He said, I'm really sorry. He said, I wish I had some other kind of news to give you. I said, amen. And he said something else I didn't catch, and not knowing what else to do, and not wanting him to have to repeat it, and me to have to fully digest it, I just looked at him for a minute, and he looked back, and then it was then I jumped down and shook his hand. Shook hands with this man who had just given me something no one else on earth had ever given me. I may even have thanked him, habit being so strong. What the doctor said. Oh, this one's good. This is called Proposal. I ask her, and then she asks me. We each accept. There's no back and forth about it. After nearly 11 years together, we know our minds and more. This postponement, and it's... Oh, wait. And this postponement, it's ripened too. Makes sense now. I suppose we should be in a rose-filled garden, or at least on a beautiful cliff overhanging the sea. But we're on the couch, the one where sleep sometimes catches us with our books open, or some old Betty Davis movie unspools in glamorous black and white, flames in the fireplace dancing menacingly in the background as she ascends the marble staircase with a sweet little snub-nosed revolver, intending to snuff her ex-lover, the fur coat he bought her draped loosely over her shoulders. Oh, lovely, oh, lethal entanglements. In such a world to be true. A few days back, some things got clear about there not being all those years ahead we'd kept assuming. The doctor going on finally about the shell I'd be leaving behind, doing his best to steer us away from the veil of tears and foreboding. But he loves his life, I heard a voice say. Hers. And the young doctor, hardly skipping a beat. I know. I guess you have to go through those 7 stages. But you end up in acceptance. After that, we went to lunch in a little cafe we'd never been in before. She had pastrami, I had soup. A lot of other people were having lunch too, luckily nobody we knew. We had plans to make, time pressing down on us like a vice, squeezing out hope to make room for the everlasting. That word making me want to shout, "Is there an Egyptian in the house?" Back home, we held on to each other, and without embarrassment or caginess, let it all reach full meaning. This was it. So any holding back had to be stupid, had to be insane and meager. How many ever get to this? I thought at the time. It's not far from here to needing a celebration, a joining, a bringing of friends into it, a handing out of champagne and Perrier. Reno, I said. Let's go to Reno and get married. In Reno, I told her, it's marriages and remarriages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No waiting period. Just I do, and if you slip the preacher $10 extra, maybe he'll even furnish a witness. Sure. She'd heard it all. She'd heard all those stories of divorcees tossing their wedding rings into the Truckee River and marching up to the altar 10 minutes later with someone new. Hadn't she thrown her own last wedding band into the Irish Sea? But she agreed. Reno was just the place. She had a green cotton dress I'd bought her in Bath. She'd send it to the cleaners. We were getting ready, as if we'd found an answer to the question of what's left when there's no more hope. The muffled sound of dice coming down, the felt-covered table, the click of the wheel, the slots ringing on into the night, and one more chance. And then that suite we engaged for. I'm sorry for the pounding on the desk there. This guy knew what he was doing, right? This one's called Cherish. Bear with me, I know we're running along. From the window I see her bend to the roses, holding close to the blooms so as not to prick her fingers. With the other hand she clips, pauses, and clips, more alone in the world than I had known. She won't look up, not now. She's alone with roses and with something else I can only think, not say. I know the names of those bushes given for our late wedding: love, honor, cherish. This last the rose she holds out to me suddenly, having entered the house between glances. I press my nose to it, draw the sweetness in, let it cling, scent of promise, of treasure. My hand on her wrist to bring her close, her eyes green as river moss. Saying it then, against what comes, wife, while I can, while my breath, each hurried petal, can still find her. And finally, late fragment. And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth. Raymond Carver. There you go. There you go, folks. You know, I wanted to read more powerful women. Yeah, I did. But Kevin Castle, thank you. Thank you. You are a new discovery for me, and I hope to read more of your stuff at some point. Yeah, make contact. We can exchange some stuff. I've got actual poems somewhere over here. I'm doing this Oldmanhood thing right now, but it's, you know, it's not all I'm doing. Anyway, the rest of you, thank you so much for being here tonight. As always, I appreciate it. There's Cindy Clark, Hayden Reese. Hey, Hayden. Thank you for coming. If you have a poem that you like, that you remember, that resonates with you, Poetry Break 22. I'd rather get it there than in Facebook Messenger or something. I don't want to have to jump around to a bunch of different places. We got one address here in the Poetry Break. This one right here, poetrybreak22@gmail.com. Send it in. It doesn't take that long. I'm still waiting for the one my mom's going to send. She keeps teasing me with it. I told her when I talked to her this week, I said, I'm gonna bug you about this, you know. Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. You can bug me. Go ahead. I'll send it when it's ready. Because there's a poem and a story, she says. My mom. Yeah. Anyway, have a poetic week. Take care of one another, as always. And next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Just like always, I hope. Good night, folks. Thanks again. Bye-bye.